Let's talk about grief in a way that's not depressing as hell. We don't just grieve death, we also grieve life. Stick around to the end and you'll hear about at least one way that grief is impacting you and you don't even know it. Grief only comes from death. That's not true. Grief is the normal and natural reaction to a loss, but a loss of any kind, whether it's a person, place, thing, even the loss of a dream. When I first entered therapy at the age of 30, I went because my mom had died. But what it revealed is I was still grieving the divorce of my parents. What I learned is that in order to understand myself, I had to expand my definition of grief. If we suppress or ignore our grief, it'll go away. Now that absolutely is not true. Think about anything else in life. If we push it down and push it down and push it down enough, eventually it's going to erupt. Oftentimes in the wrong people, wrong place, wrong time. I did that when my mom was killed. I suppressed my grief to the point that I had these uncontrollable headaches that would not go away. What helped those headaches to go away was me actually processing and releasing my grief. It was the antidote for my healing. We only grieve bad things. That is definitely a misconception. Grief can come from any loss or change, whether good or bad. I think about when I left corporate America. I was excited. I wrote up my letter and I presented it, and then I was free. Yet, a couple weeks later, I found myself feeling this foreboding and sadness, and I realized that it was because I no longer had the title. I no longer had the camaraderie to go to work with a group of friends, and those things I missed. I missed who I was in corporate America, and I grieved leaving. Grief is only expressed in tears. That too is a misconception. Our responses to grief are as varied as our emotions. I've seen it come out in tears, yes, but also in laughter, anger, anxiety. There's a variety of ways that grief manifests itself. I remember when I was a teen and my grandmother had just died. We were in the car going to the cemetery and my sister was laughing and playing. I remember saying to her, "Stop it, that's not how you grieve." But in actuality, it was how she was releasing her grief energy. Mine was just completely different. One day we'll stop grieving. That is not necessarily true. What is true is that loss is something we can get through, but we may never get over it. I think about the first time one of my sons graduated from college. As I watched him on that stage, I had tears rolling down my face, one from the joy of him experiencing that moment, and the other from the pain of knowing that his dad was not there physically to see him graduate. And it is possible that at other monumental times during his life, I will grieve his father again. That doesn't make me anything except human. I should keep my grief to myself. That is a powerful misconception about grief. What it does is it isolates you from other people and it doesn't allow you to release the pain that you're feeling. Going it alone and being in isolation can be very heavy and painful. I've watched people in support groups share their pain, and other people across the room, while it may not be the same kind of loss, they connected. And there was healing that happened in that moment when people realized they were not alone. I named my first book To Grieve Together because I wanted to acknowledge that grief is a process and that when we share our grief with someone else, it is powerful. Thank you for staying to the end. I know grief is not a sexy topic, but it is an essential one. Understanding what's at the root of our emotions is an essential part of our healing journey. And if you know someone that you think is grieving, whether it be death or life, share this video with them. It may be the start of their healing process.